Ladies and gentlemen, this is JoeJin Movie So Awesome. I'm Joe.
I'm Won-Jin.
Today we're going to talk about Succession Season 4, Episode 9.
Spoilers alert.
Ahead. You have been warned. Please come back later. Here we go. This was another amazing episode. And that pays off what's been building up.
Yeah.
We're going to first talk about Roman, of course. I mean, even the whole episode was structured that way. Like, now that I think about it.
The episode starts with him rehearsing what he's going to say at the funeral.
Yeah.
And it seems like he's thinking it's not a big deal.
No, even the setting is interesting because it's in his high-rise apartment, very high. But remember, in the last episodes, he's down on the street with people. So it is a theme about fall.
Yeah.
And
that's a really good point.
Yeah, because it's structured that way. Because and even the dialogue is really sharp in that Roman kind of because he is kind of a quote unquote the fool character that speaks the truth. So on the way to the funeral, he says something really poignant to Kendall that I thought is going to cost him, because he said, "Oh, wearing sunglasses to not show your feelings, trying to win the funeral war," and then he makes that comment. I knew that the opposite was going to happen. Like he set himself up as this whole thing.
And it becomes him ending up crying at the funeral.
Because, you know, even the structure is interesting, because I feel like Uncle Ewan like represents truth.
I was waiting for him all season, and it paid off. I loved like how he started his speech. It's like, what kind of people stops a brother from speaking
Because of
for the sake of share prices? Yo, that was savage.
Yeah. Before we go to that, though, the Roman thing, I think Ewan speaking like that fucked him up. Like, because first of all, it brought up all the like childhood memory of his father that the siblings, I think, didn't know about.
Yeah.
And then the craziest thing about Uncle Ewan was he spoke with truth.
And it was not exactly, I mean, he spoke the truth, not with hate. He was just basically depicting what his brother was.
Yeah.
And we can also confirm that the siblings did not know about some of the qualities of their father, with Shiv asking the senior management about her father. It's like, was
that
he
comes
that
later.
Bad? Yeah.
Yeah.
Was he that bad?
If you're gonna talk about that, we can talk about that. Like, when they put him in the crown, I felt like Shiv's thing. You know, because Shiv's asking the senior management, was it that bad, is a mirror to Kendall's. Because Kendall has a line with Hugo. So you know what they're doing? Remember in the funeral when Kendall was making that speech, Shiv was smiling every time Kendall said something good about his father. And listen to me, that falls under the bigger theme of Shiv and Kendall heading to the fight. Because Shiv feels like she's doing the right thing. Because Shiv, in her mind, her father was a great man, but imperfect. But Kendall is kind of taking the opposite approach where, yeah, he was a terrible guy, but he had this amazing thing.
Look at the things he built.
So, like, I felt like Shiv asking Frank and Carl about was Dad really that bad? And them giving that answer, right? He was a salty dog, but he was a good egg. Basically saying he was a good person in their mind. It's kind of like an old school thing to say. Yeah, he has some flaws, but he's an okay guy. And then they both say, all right, right? I felt like that was Shiv basically getting their permission to do what she wants. Because they're about to head to a vote. And I felt like Roman couldn't do that. Roman couldn't find closure about what his father was.
Yeah.
But Shiv and Kendall are heading towards the vote, making peace with what their father was and reinforcing what they believe. So basically Shiv is trying to say that wasn't so bad and he was a good guy at heart, so I'm going to try to change the company in a direction that's better by approving the GoJo deal and becoming a CEO. While Kendall, on the other hand, the music and his dialogue with Hugo is fucking interesting because he says, you know, Hugo, life is contingent. People who say they love you, fuck you, right? That is a direct position change from season 3, episode 8. where Logan and Kendall has that dinner, right? And Kendall says, "You win because the world is evil," and then Logan says something interesting. He says, "Don't talk about things you don't understand." And that is basically saying the world is as is, boy. Evil? Are you kidding me? But Kendall is basically saying what his father said. Now,
yeah, and we've been seeing this repeatedly after Logan's death. Like you said, that like his interactions with his father, all these events that occurred around him throughout the seasons, have taken his humanity out of him. Yeah. And we also see that with his interaction with Rava. Basically, he's furious and he's threatening Rava that he will lawyer up and try to take custody of the children.
Because that's what his dad would do.
Yeah. And instead of, empathizing with what Rava's going through, he just puts what he's interested in first. I mean, before her interests.
Yeah. And remember, like, even in season 3, Kendall keeps saying, "I try to change things. I try to change things." That's what he says, right? But he doesn't say that anymore. You know who keeps saying that? Shiv. Because now looking back, now that we're at one episode away from the finale, this Shiv and Kendall conflict has been building up. Remember in season 2, Logan tried to dangle the carrot to Shiv, and Shiv and Kendall continued to have this weird rivalry up to season 3. And they had face-to-face meetings where they talked about serious stuff. Remember Shiv in season 3 tried to smoke out Kendall, and they're at this reporter conference, and Shiv says, "You're right, we can change things from the inside." And Kendall smiled and said, "Now it's you. Like, it used to be me, but now it's you." But I feel like this is just a Logan perspective, but if he is in like heaven or hell, wherever he is, looking at this, he's like, okay, Kendall is the upgrade version now. Because Shiv still believes that there's hope. Because even in the last season 8, even though she did betray her siblings, what she said is now turned out to be true. Remember, she said there are consequences, right? And this episode, what's interesting is, besides the funeral, everything around is chaos. There are mass protests.
Yeah, outside. What did they say? It looked like Roman said it looked like Tiananmen.
Yeah.
Or was it Tom?
Yeah. Whoever said that is.
Oh, it's Tom. Yeah, it's Tom.
Because they're doing that over the vote. And these are, you can tell they're regular people, because Roman says, "Idiots, no idea. You small people. You have no idea what's going on in the back of the curtain." It's like Roman is the only one who can't deal with the guilt of what they're actually doing. Because he makes snarky remarks, right? Which all happens to be true. Yeah. Because he knows this is bullshit. Remember in season 1, episode 1, when he comes down to congratulate Kendall, the first line he says is, "This is all bullshit." And it's been true.
That's true.
Like, he sees the facade for what he is.
Yeah, that's true. So I was actually hoping that Roman would get his face stomped or something.
Really?
I was actually hoping that the angry mob would like rip him a new one.
Kill him?
Well, not kill him, but send him to the ER or something.
Really?
Yeah, because I think he kind of deserves it for like yelling those things out to those people.
Oh yeah.
Because those people are concerned about the democracy and the state of the republic.
Yeah, but don't you think there was a little bit like mixed emotions though? Like, I felt like.
Well, I didn't really feel sorry for him.
It was.
I was actually. I felt glad that he got his face smacked by some stranger.
No, but I thought it was Roman like
I thought he needed it,
manifesting his self-hate though. Because he storms out of the after funeral like.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. That's also a good point. It kind of reminds me.
He's doing it intentionally to hurt himself.
What's his name? Mike Ehrmantraut in Better Call Saul. Remember after like killing that German engineer, he has that self-contempt, like you said.
Yeah, he goes to the bar.
He like deliberately walks past that gang area, and then he gets his ass kicked.
Yeah, it's like a self-hate. And you know what's sick is that. Remember in episode 7, Kendall sends him the video, micro penis. It's been building up, and. You know what's crazy is at the funeral dinner, Kendall says, "Yeah, because you fucked up."
Mm.
He says it in a way, in a different voice tone. It almost sounds like his father. Like where, you know how Logan doesn't care about your feelings? You remember like how he made fun of Hugo? Oh, sorry, dude. You need some time? Would you like a hand job and an Advil? Like, he has zero empathy. Like, he's really good at manipulating people.
That's true. Good point. It sounded as if he had been waiting for this to happen. That's what it kind of sounded like.
That's a good point.
Yeah, you fucked up.
Yeah. You try to be dad.
And I think it's also his attempt at shaking off his responsibility in this result. Because remember, whatever Roman was doing, Kendall was there to support it as well.
Like, but because this is the great thing about the show is there are little details. You know, that Living Plus conference. We saw how Kendall tried to support Roman, but Roman didn't. He left him hanging at the end. So you could argue that there are like those things building up between the siblings.
Maybe there was a grudge.
Well, the show never says it outright, but because this show is really passive aggressive, so we can really never tell like what the stabbing is. But I felt that, and you know, even the music choices, because remember Kendall, after he says, "Hugo, I'm looking for, you know, I'm the droid you're looking for. You're my dog." Woof woof. He looks at his father's grave, and the music comes up that's usually reserved for. I mean, it has played for Kendall before too, but it's the Dark Furious Roy version. You know when Logan gets angry. We need to act on the world. We need to act. It's like you can tell like this like evil malicious force of survival. You can tell Kendall is going to war, and I really like that. And Kendall also telling Colin to work for him. He's becoming his dad.
Yeah.
And I think that's why the Shiv and Kendall clash that will come next episode will be interesting, because I feel like, you know, this show you can never expect, you can never predict it, right?
Yeah, and from the previous episode, we thought that the Shiv would be in a very dire situation, but I think she's surprisingly resilient.
Yeah, she has shown this before too. Remember in like season 3 and 2, whenever she loses favor against her father, like mid-episode, she finds a way back. Remember in season 2,
good point.
She makes a mistake of telling the Pierce that she is the designated successor. But during Logan's 50-year celebration, she wins his favor back by telling him that it's your choice. You do whatever and stabs Rhea Jarrell. I mean, her name is Shiv, so I mean Kendall says Shiv the Shiv, right?
That's a good point. I mean, her name is Siobhan, but we call her Shiv.
Yeah, because like none of the Roy children can be underestimated. They have this like their father's side.
Yeah, they're very resilient, and she managed to turn the table very quickly. Yeah, very quickly with Lucas.
Yeah.
But I think the situation's a bit different because, like, Kendall is basically like calling up the banner. What would you say it?
Yeah.
And he's like recruiting men, whereas Shiv needs to depend heavily on an outside force. Basically, she's relying on another king.
Yeah. But. Hey, before we go to that, let's talk about one more tender scene with Caroline. Like when
the mistresses and the wives.
You know, Caroline is like she's basically like a future version of Shiv. But what I like about this funeral scene with her and some of the elders too is, you know, it's not black and white. Like there are two scenes that I really love. So Jerry and the old guard are like, Jerry's like, so how much of you is glad that he's gone? And Carl's like, no, I miss him. And like Jerry's like, Stockholm syndrome. And then they all have a very like nasty laugh. Another thing, Caroline is like two things with her. She reads Shiv pregnant right away.
Yeah, and I love the reaction she had after finding out that Shiv was pregnant. She doesn't even say much. She's like, "Oh, you," and we can just understand what she's trying to convey.
Yeah.
And I think the first question she was trying to ask is, "Are you going to keep it?" I think that was her reaction. Like, do you really want it? Yeah, because I don't think it was like a congratulations vibe. It was more like, "Are you sure you want to do this?"
Really?
Yeah, that's the vibe I got. That's the impression I had.
That could be, but I felt like it was done because of their disconnect. You know, because this is how I felt. That your interpretation is legitimate. Mine was, I think Caroline does love her daughter. She just doesn't know how to express it. That's why she because she keeps things unsaid. Remember when Kendall tried to tell her, like, about mom, I want to say something, and she said, let's do it in the morning, and she's not there.
Yeah.
I felt
she
like
kind of deliberately avoids those moments.
I felt like Caroline, it's not that she's a really... Okay, she could be... You could argue that she's a narcissist, but I didn't feel like she was a completely evil character or anything like that. She just doesn't know how to convey love. And so that's the impression I got, because... This is what I'm about to say. Because when she asked Kerry to join, and then she asks, Sally Ann to join, and she tells Marcia that, Sally Ann was my Kerry. You saw her humanity there.
That's right.
That was
everything's under the bridge now that Logan's gone.
Yeah, because that was a mercy thing towards Kerry. Remember, right after Logan died in the wake, Marcia kicks Kerry out.
Yeah, and she what did she, like, take her out the back?
Yeah.
That was very, very, like, humiliating for Kerry.
No, but in this season, when the four of them sit down, it almost reminded me of the Logan children hugging each other at the season 3, because, like, she has emotional intelligence, and I almost feel like it's a commentary on power. Because you know how Roman's, like, crying was made fun of by Carl? I felt like these people, it's not that these people are necessarily bad or evil. It's that particular power environment of the elite just makes you that way. I mean, no, I'm not saying that's, like, it. I'm saying there is an element to that. And I felt like Caroline showed class. And then
that was classy. That was a classy move.
No, and then she says Logan will hate this. Like,
and the ladies all laugh.
Yeah, because it's a Catholic fucking. You're not supposed to cheat. First of all, you're not supposed to cheat, and then you have, like, 4 women that you fornicated with looking at you,
all sitting at the front row.
Yeah, and hats off to that Kerry actor. Like, when she cries and Caroline looks at her, like, sympathetically, and Marcia grabs her hand, that was a fucking beautiful scene. Like, forgiveness. And then I thought that scene was smart in the fact that we immediately go to the children, and there's no forgiveness there. It's like a passive aggressive competition.
Yeah, and also, like, the way they behave. I mean, like, the attitude they show towards Greg when Uncle Ewan insists on speaking. Yeah, that's that's in a sharp contrast.
No, but Greg is a survivor, and I like Greg line after Ewan sits down and Greg says that was true. Because remember, Greg stood up to Logan once. Remember in episode 1, was it? Make fun of me. Where are your children, Uncle? And Logan got so pissed off that
he's like, yo, that's not the joke I'm talking about.
Yeah. Oh, man, that was funny. But I think we're heading to a finale where no one will win, in the fact that here's 2 scenarios. Even if Shiv wins, there's no guarantee. Like, Shiv is really bad at leverage. Like, once you pass the deal, Matsson you don't have any leverage to actually force Matsson to honor the deal.
That's right. And remember, the deal was an American CEO. It did not say Shiv.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Now, another problem is this. If Kendall wins, hey, man, you guys know that Jimenez still has a chance to turn the election around, right?
And they're all fucked.
Yeah, there are unaccounted votes there. And just because you guys argue that it's clear, doesn't mean that once it goes to court, the decision might be different.
Yeah, and also remember to think about what's going to happen to ATN if that happens. They're going to lose a lot of credibility. They're going to be under heavy criticism. People already hate ATN so much.
Not just criticism, but Jimenez there'll be an investigation on voter fraud, misconduct.
Yeah, and we're going to see people go to jail, like Tom and what's his name? Drew, what was his name? Darwin, that's right, Darwin.
No, but I felt
Tom.
like already because they showed a newspaper clip. Remember, I felt like it's Darwin snitching to the media because they already have a timeline of events.
And Tom's like wondering how do they have like this exact
They
timeline?
all because they're all protecting themselves because they don't want to take responsibility. But hey, here's another scenario: if Kendall wins, and people get angry about the ATN call, he can always throw Tom under the bus.
Smart.
Yeah, he can always say it was Tom.
That is very plausible.
Listen, I feel like the writers know that we will predict this much, so I think there might be a surprise that maybe Roman will do something crazy at the vote. And here's another thing. It could be set up, though, like Hugo, winning over Frank. I feel like the old guards might betray them all and shit. You know, you never know.
And actually team up with Matsson or something. I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah, Jerry could end up CEO. Because remember, Matsson was concerned about Shiv's experience.
Right. Right. And she did praise Jerry and what's her name, Kerry. Not Kerry, but Carolina. So there are so many like contingencies that can change the scenario. Really, it's crazy, isn't it?
Yeah.
My God.
So I wonder how they're gonna end this. Just one more episode left.
You know what's sad though? I found like Logan's mausoleum a little sad.
Oh, like they got it on a deal.
Yeah. It shows so much about his character because Ewan was right that he was meeker, even in death, and he still wanted to live. He didn't want to be in the ground because Connor has insights about his family members.
I think he's like the most perceptive of all the siblings.
Yeah, emotionally especially. And that Rose story was fucking sad though. That polio thing, because the camera went to Roman, and I felt like, I mean, it explains some things. It doesn't explain everything, but it explains Logan's idea of child rearing, because because Roman is a good case of him letting the guilt sit on him.
Yeah.
For his benefit.
Yeah, and I think that was like a revelation for all of us. We did not know that Logan was going through that.
Well, but you know, Ewan was right to point out that does not excuse what he did afterwards. And you know, the craziest speech. Now we have to talk about the grandest speech of a Kendall speech. Kendall should run for Hitler. If there is a position called Hitler or Caesar, he should run for it, because that was some.
We saw the potential at the Living Plus thing, and
You know what's crazy though? It's not that what he spoke wasn't true. It's that he does what Logan does, because it reminded me a lot of the Logan speech at episode 2 to ATN.
Oh, you mean the
the
cheer the
employees,
employees, the rallying of the ATN moment?
It's not that he's first of all, he says Uncle Ewan is right, so he intentionally gives him credit, and then he slowly turns that around, and then he mixes his speech with honesty too. Yeah, the money was great. And then he goes into this grand speech about grand halls, buildings he made, terrible force. It's like a Palpatine speech for Join the Sith, because it's not that what he says isn't true. It's just that, does it justify everything Logan did though? You know, like it doesn't answer the question of morality and ethics that Ewan was talking about.
But he did manage to polish his father's career very well. Yeah. And very spontaneously.
Yeah. I mean, and the camera work was brilliant too. You know how like Roman and Shiv, they get a lot of close-ups, but I felt like Kendall's camera angle was intentionally like he's making like a Hitler speech. And I thought it was done well.
I also love the reactions of the audience, especially like the siblings. I also remember how Roman reacted to Kendall's speech. It's like he I think he liked it and he also hated it at the same
He
time.
was jealous.
Yeah,
of it, not
it's
hate it.
jealousy because that was supposed to be his moment.
Yeah. And I felt like Shiv was the great thing about Shiv is I think he was one of those persons that was the most comfortable with his dad too. You know how like he has dinner scenes with his father.
Yeah.
There's a tenderness to him. I think now that we know about Logan and Rose's story, I think Logan has a soft spot for Shiv because of the sister thing.
Yeah.
Maybe. I mean, this is an interpretation. But I felt like Kendall was and his speech gets the approval of President-elect, which tells a lot about what they like. And remember, like the audience,
Mein Führer.
like first of all, know your audience. These guys are all elite fucks. Of course, they want to hear that Logan was justified. It's like Ewan's speech was such a fuck you to their face. It's like Jesus stepping on a Roman Senate and saying you're all depraved. Of course, he's not gonna get a fucking ovation. And I also like Shiv's speech too. You know, I think Shiv's speech is a lesson. It's kind of in their world. I guess Shiv's problem is, why would you mention that woman thing? Everybody knows that thing. And Kendall's reaction to Shiv's speech is interesting. When Shiv says something, when father was doing something important and he was making diplomats kings, like Kendall smiles. But as soon as he mentions women, Kendall doesn't smile at all. It's like he doesn't register. He doesn't care. But I did feel like Shiv was being honest though, because like, let's be honest, like 4 seasons in, having seen Logan, have sexual relationship with Kerry, having okayed the wolf pack's behavior at Cruise, yeah, he didn't like women. It's hard to deny it. Like, there's so many circumstantial evidence that we as an audience know. But I think, like, Shiv misunderstands the game still. The truth doesn't matter. The good truth matter. Like, erase don't say those things. Like, Kendall got it. Like, he doesn't give a fuck anymore. It's about manipulating the truth.
Yeah.
Because Logan is not a liar in the strictest sense. He doesn't go, like, this shirt is red. He doesn't do that. He says, this shirt is a shade lighter than normal blue. You're like, what the fuck are you talking about? It's still blue, right? He does it in a way where he mixes up like blatant lies with truth to confuse you, or
it's blue but not blue.
Yeah. No, he mixes it up. But I felt like Shiv was honest, except like she has the wrong mindset to win that way, and she consistently failed us on that part.
And now that you mentioned the president-elect, we also have to mention his conversation with Shiv and Matsson, because I also got that. He keeps reminding us of his like association with his fascination with the Germans or something.
Yeah, the Nazi thing.
Yeah, the Nazi thing. What was it? The Kinder,
the
Kirsche, Kucha.
Yeah, that's a woman.
Yeah, that's the woman thing.
Yeah, that's like saying women belong in the kitchen.
Women's job. It's like you stay in the kitchen, you cook, you go to church, you raise children. That's what you got to do.
Yeah.
And I also loved his reaction to Matsson. It's like, which spectrum are you on? I also love Massen's answer to that as well.
Yeah. Pussy, pasta, privacy. Yeah. No, but I think like he likes the fact that Matsson doesn't have a spectrum. Matsson outright says it. I don't care. I'm just a mercenary. You give me what I want, I give you what you want. And here's another thing. His talk about data reminded me a lot of the Walter deal. I felt like Kendall did have a pulse of the importance of data that his father didn't. Because if you think about it, a lot of these different characters are actually saying a lot of the same things. And so it does make sense for ATN to acquire GoJo too, I feel like. It's just about who gets on the driver's seat, right?
Yeah.
And
so we, every episode has revolved around like an event. So last one was the election. This one is the funeral.
Next one is the board meeting to vote for the deal, because the deal hasn't been passed yet. The board needs to approve. And you know what? Shiv, Roman, and Kendall, we've seen this in season 1, episode 6. They're board members. Shiv is also a board member since Waystar survived
that Sandy
the
thing,
bear hug, because that was part of the deal for her to get a seat too. So Shiv is on the board. Frank is on the board. I don't think Carl was in season 1, but I think he might be now. Jerry is on the board, like, and all those old guys and other guys we saw.
And what's his name? Kendall's buddy.
Yeah, Stewie.
Oh, Stewie. That's right. Stewie's on the board as well.
So, and the board is stockpiled with like Logan, like loyalists. But it's a question mark still. Now that he's no longer here, will they remain loyal? That's the thing, though. Oh, but anyway, what a amazing episode again. Like, that Roman thing made me cry, man.
Really?
Yeah, you didn't feel sorry for him a little?
Not really. I was like, yeah, that's what you get, you spoiled little bitch. That's what I was thinking to myself. Yeah, fuck you.
You know what I like about Won-Jin? He has a very clear compass about what's good and what's bad. You know, because when he cried, the camera goes to Caroline and her mother feels the pain. I felt like that was like...
Oh, well, yeah, in that scene, I kind of felt sorry because I could tell... You know, I was talking about the last scene.
Okay.
But during the funeral, I did kind of feel sorry for him because I could tell that he had been repressing a lot of the grievances.
Yeah.
And that's finally like popping out. It was especially heartbreaking when he was asking if father was in that coffin and he wanted him to, he wanted them to bring him out. Can we like take him out?
Yeah, and they start crying like a boy.
That was so sad.
Yeah.
But, you know, in the end, I was like, yeah, fuck you.
No, but I felt it was a commentary that in this Game of Thrones, like, emotion plays no part. And Roman was the most emotional. That's why he fails to get the job.
Yeah.
And Kendall, who has the least emotion now.
Now he's like a machine. He's like a Terminator.
Yeah, you fucked up. He says it without any mercy. But the question is, will Kendall... Like, he always breaks. Like, past seasons. But, I don't know.
We'll see.
I think you'll agree. It's going to be a tragedy. Like, I think even if Kendall wins, it's going to be like a Pyrrhic victory.
I think it's going to be like a replica of Logan's life. He has the company. Remember, like, we said that his greatest love is not his children, it's his company.
Yeah.
I think the same thing's going to happen because we already see Kendall losing grip over his children and his ex-wife. I mean, not that he had any over his ex-wife. But he's basically being distanced from his own children, his own siblings, and now he may acquire the company, but then at what cost?
Yeah, but anyway, like the finale is gonna blow our mind. I think all our predictions will not be 100% at all. The show is so good at you know, making us, you know, think something and fuck us around.
And since season 1, I knew that Greg was a survivor, and yeah. Applause for Greg.
Become AT&T CEO.
Greg's been doing very well.
No, what's funny, like, if Matsson wins, it'll be funny his American CEO will be a guy, since Matsson is Mencken is a racist. So
It'll be hilarious if it's Greg.
AT&T CEO Greg. That'd be funny. A Roy.
Oh, man.
He has diluted Roy blood, but he's still a Roy. But anyway, let's give a number grade before we end it. I give it a 10 out of 10, this one.
Oh, I would give it 10.
Yeah. I almost feel like...
Yeah, I would also give it a 10.
I almost feel like...
There's nothing that I can really, like, pick out that I didn't like.
I almost feel like this episode is going to be paired with the finale after we see it. It's going to be like a dual episode thing. You know, because in season 3, episode 8 and 9 were basically at... mom's wedding, so it was all about that.
Yeah.
So, but I guess this is a board meeting. But I give it a 10 out of 10.
Yeah.
Fucking amazing episode.
It was a great episode.
Great actor. I love the Kendall's like he has a smut coming out of the nose.
Yeah.
And making a speech. Steel halls, the life, the living.
A terrible force.
And Shiv is like looking at her so proud. Yes, Daddy was amazing. Goodbye, bye, my world of a father. You know, the funny thing is, never has a dead character took so much center stage. This is so much like his shadow looms large. But anyway, that's our take on Succession Season 4, Episode 9. Thank you so much for tuning in. This has been JoeJin Movie So Awesome. I was Joe.
I was Won-Jin.
We'll see you soon.
We'll be right back with Guardians of the Galaxy.
Bye.